now. We're a family and you're one of us now. We're a family and you're one of us now. Though you look like you, we think you like us too, 'cause we're a family and you're one of us now.
Way back in one of my earlier reviews, back when I was still using that shitty Ponymaker OC, I complained about Pinkie's characterization. Now, a lot of you took that to mean I have a problem with the character, but that's ridiculous. I love Pinkie Pie. I just take issue with the way she's written a lot of the time, especially lately. I've actually had a whole other video written on this subject for a couple months now, but I don't got time to put that shit together between episodes.
Ain't nobody got time for that!
Suffice to say, I see a lot of depth and potential in this character, merits that are often lost when the writers get lazy, choosing instead to turn her into a screeching, idiotic caricature only there to spew pointless non sequiturs because they're too stupid to set up actual gags, or God forbid, consistently decent characterization. Whether due to sloth or just good old-fashioned incompetence, it often seems like the writers just don't have a very good grasp of the character. She's supposed to be absurd, yes, but still human, for lack of a better word. She used to react to things appropriately and show real emotion, even wisdom at times. Pinkie was a much more well-rounded character back when Lauren still had input, but with her gone, they've just turned Pinkie into Jar Jar fucking Binks. She still hasn't fallen from grace quite as badly as I have, though. Look at how handsome and slim I used to be. Oh God, how could I have gotten this fat? What the hell happened to me? It's for these reasons that Pinkie Pie episodes are in fact always among my favorites. When an episode is built around the character, it forces the writers to at least try to utilize her to her full potential and write for her correctly. That's why the Pinkie Pie that you see in Party of One or Baby Cakes, for example, seems like an entirely different character than the one in, say, Castlemania. One of them is likable and relatable because she acts like a real person, optimistic and extroverted, but still fragile and emotional. The other one bangs her head on the inside of a bell and then endangers her friends' lives while remaining oblivious to their genuine fear like a fucking sociopath. If you look at the early episodes, when Lauren was in charge, even as far back as the pilot, it was obvious that Pinkie's role in the series was always meant to be twofold. She's supposed to be both the comic relief and the empath of the group, but most of the time the writers forget about that second part, focusing instead on the first half, especially in episodes featuring the whole cast. And even that part they mess up because they inevitably take the easy way out and just resort to random funny faces and meme humor instead of actually setting up jokes. So, since all of the regular writers on this show have proven themselves time and time again to be incompetent morons with no grasp on comedy or the character, leave it to a new writer to do a far better job with her than anyone has since Season 2. The writer in question would be one Natasha Yar, who shockingly has only one other writing credit to her name that I can find. On the whole, Pinkie Apple Pie is a step toward getting the character back on track, and proves that she can be funny without sacrificing the empathy and love that makes the character great. Of course, I'm sure that'll all be ignored by next week when Dave Blowski or Amy Cunting Rogers takes the reins back and makes her a salivating retard again, but for once I can say that this episode hit all the right notes and I have no serious complaints. In fact, I loved it. So for all you guys saying that you can never tell what my real opinion is, well, there you go. I just flat out told ya. You happy now? Is that good enough?
Well, I still don't get it. Are you trolling?
Okay, that's it. I give up. I quit. Fez 2's canceled. I'll just pack my things, move to a new city, change my name, and I'll review Littlest Pet. So while reading through Twilight Scrolls on genealogy, Pinkie discovers that the Apple family and the Pie family may be related. And I guess someone in Applejack's family got a little Jason Biggs action. Pinkie's excited. Oh shit, I fucked it up. I made myself chuckle. Pinkie, of course, is ecstatic to be related to one of her best friends, but Applejack isn't sure it's legitimate. And so, they all set out on a big family road trip to find an old relative who might know for sure. And that's it. A simple, straightforward story with plenty of time for gags and character interaction. Just the way I like it. And along the way, they all sing a fantastic little song together called Drunken Lullaby, Apples to the Core. Now this song really is wonderful. In fact, I'd say it's one of Ingram's best. Even if it is completely plagiarized from a popular Irish folk rock song, it's worth it alone just for this. Yeah, that's a pink pony playing balloon strings like a harp. I can now say that I've seen that, and my life is better for it. This song is actually quite an achievement lyrically, and I'll explain why. Let's talk about Pinkie's verse in particular. It's incredible. Pinkie's verse in this song somehow captures everything good about the character and is performed in such a way that it really affects the listener. At least it did me. It's hard for me to explain it objectively without doing a swan dive into the realm of abstract feeling, but there's just something special and emotionally resonant about it, and I'm not ashamed at all to admit that it brought a little manly tear to my eye. If you were to just read this verse on a piece of paper without knowing where it's from, it would just seem like 4 silly lines to you. But something about the way the vocals are performed, as well as the context of the situation and what I know about the character, makes it feel like a special moment. It's touching, and the song knows that. It all builds up to Pinkie's verse, and the other characters are animated to circle around Pinkie, encouraging her to join in with a reverence that says, "Do your thing, Pinkie, bring this sumbitch home." It's the climax of the song, and when taken in that context, the lyrics become pretty gosh darn clever. Pinkie's train of thought here is even more obtuse and childlike than usual. The line, "more fun than the color pink," is pretty abstract all on its own, but then the next line, "balloons flying over your favorite drink." Well, yeah, that sounds pretty cool, but it's also pretty out there and kind of a random connection to make. Then you have to think about the line at the end, "as we party across this land." This is just a direct repeat of Apple Bloom's line, only with the phrase "sing out" replaced with "party," which is such a generic Pinkie Pie thing to say, almost as if she couldn't think of anything, so her mind just pulled up Apple Bloom's line and then combined it with her favorite word. And then you think back to those first 2 lines and how they reference things that are so obvious and synonymous with the character, such as pink, which is the color of her coat and mane as well as being in her name, and balloons, which is her cutie mark as well as another one of her favorite things. Pink, balloons, and party. Exactly the go-to words you'd expect to be among the first things to pop into Pinkie's head if she had to improvise something. It's almost like she didn't really know what to say here. And you know what? I think that's the point. This isn't just Pinkie being her regular sunny-side-up self. She's supposed to be genuinely excited, bursting with jubilation, and the way the lyrics are written reflect that. She's so happy to be a part of this family that she can barely form coherent thoughts. She can't contain herself. And when she spews out a line like, "the love I feel here is swim, not sink," even though that sentence is kinda clunky and barely makes any sense, you know exactly what it means. Not just in the rational sense of being able to decipher a person's phrasing, but you know what it means to her. Because the context of the line and her enthusiasm in saying it appeals to emotions that you've hopefully felt at some point yourself. The feeling I get from this verse is that for once, Pinkie is so elated that she's actually struggling to express herself a little bit. It's been a running gag in this series that Pinkie is prone to bursting into song, which is odd considering that a lot of episodes have big musical numbers and she's hardly the only one to do it, as Rainbow Dash lampshaded last week.
I know! Ponies just bursting into song in random places at the drop of a hat? Who does that?
The logic of this cartoon, as well as many others, can and does change when it needs to. Some episodes are musicals where you just accept that the characters can launch into a big number, but in other episodes it's played more realistically for laughs, where singing random songs is just treated like a quirky thing that only Pinkie ever does. The viewer is aware that everyone does it, but the characters seem to forget. When Pinkie sings "Smile, Smile, Smile," for example, everybody joins in like it's a musical. But when she sings "You Gotta Share, You Gotta Care," everyone just sort of looks at her like, who is this crazy cunt, and does she know she's dressed like a prostitute? This is far from the only time other characters react to Pinkie's singing in theatrics this way. So even in a world where big musical numbers can and do happen, Pinkie still seems to be thought of by others as excessively prone to it.
That's the joke.
Now the reason I bring up Pinkie's random singing is to make a point. Let's go back to season 1 for a second. In Bridal Gossip, Pinkie refers to the Evil Enchantress song as a song that she wrote.
I even wrote a song about her! Here we go!
Now, from this line, one could reasonably infer that whenever Pinkie bursts out into a random song, it's one that she wrote and prepared beforehand. It's not hard to picture Pinkie in her room in her downtime, writing a song about cupcakes just in case she needs to teach someone how to bake them, or thinking, I should really write a song about sharing, just in case I need to resolve some conflict someday involving a bunch of buffalo. But for once, Pinkie is caught off guard here. This is not a song she wrote, nor is it going by the rules of a typical musical number where everyone magically knows the words. Applejack implies as much when she says,
Come on, Apples, y'all know this one.
The implication here is that this is an old Apple Family song, and it's written like one. Applejack, Granny Smith, and Apple Bloom's verses are all devoid of specific references to characters or to the current situation. The lyrics are intentionally vague enough to be about the family itself and no one specific, just as though the words had been passed down for generations. So they all know the song. Pinkie doesn't. She's just happy to be here listening and enjoying the song. So when they encourage her to make up her own verse, for the first time in the series, she's caught with her lyrical pants down. The expression on her face says it all. She's both ecstatic and surprised to be made a part of this. So as a result, the lines she comes up with are both heartfelt and slightly nonsensical. Because for once, she's ad-libbing, and in a state of complete euphoria, no less. These lyrics are perfect. It all works. Very cleverly written. Pretty fucking sneaky, sis. Now, of course, it's possible that I could just be overanalyzing the fuck out of this, but I really wouldn't be surprised if this is what they intended, and it's so effective. You understand all this on an emotional level because it's so genuine that it evokes that empathy in the listener. It connects in a way that few other songs in the series have managed to do. The contextual characterization and emotional conveyance in Pinkie's verse go above and beyond, and it really affected me. The first time I listened to it, as well as subsequent listens, honestly hit me right in my emotional squiddly spooch and have made me a little bit teary-eyed.
It's okay for macho men to show every emotion available right there, you know, because I've cried 1,000 times, I'm gonna cry some more.
It was also really cool to get to hear Big Mac sing for once, even if it was just in the chorus. But I've gone on enough about the song, what more can I say? It's fantastic. And I can't wait to hear it again on St. Paddy's Day.
We're apples forever, apples together. We're family, but so much more.
Till we find ourselves in the same old mess, singing drunk and loyal boys. My life. This is my life. Oh God. So with a great song and a premise so straightforward and hard to mess up, this episode is off to a really good start. But of course they have to ruin it by making Apple Bloom reference that stupid Twilightlicious meme.
A to the A to the U-Tri-P. Ain't no other pony found a man like me. I'm a...
Oh, what a bunch of bullshit. You know, I am so sick of this show pandering to bronies at every opportunity. These shallow references to memes and internet humor should not be a replacement for actually well-written jokes. And furthermore, it compromises the integrity of what the show was originally all about.
Oh my god! What the fuck?
Oh my god! Oh god! Oh god! Bravo, Vince. I did not see that coming. That eagle came out of fucking nowhere. Oh god. Okay. That eagle is officially the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. So after all the oxen die, and with Granny Smith on the verge of dying from dysentery, they decide to ford the river and raft downstream, at which point Applejack has a line that perfectly sums up my feelings on the brony analysis community.
It's a good episode, just not one with any hidden depth or meaning to be drawn out from analysis.
There are only a few things that are really worth mentioning.
Exactly. So I think we can all agree that from here on out, I should be in charge of everything.
Seriously, guys? Not much to say? I'm just getting warmed up here. Get on my fucking level. Anyways, here's the one small scene in this episode where Pinkie's characterization comes close to floundering just ever so slightly. It's a real small nitpick, and it isn't a big deal at all, but could it have killed the animators to just show on Pinkie's face a little bit of reaction to the argument going on? I don't know if it was an oversight by them or if the writer Natasha Romanoff specifically said not to have her react. If so, it's just one questionable decision regarding Pinkie's otherwise impressively spot-on characterization in this episode. Again, real minor, just thought I should bring it up for the sake of... Oh my god!
Holy shit! Oh my
Big Macintosh has a pie on his face. I want to have a pie on my
None of this is the real me!
Almost heaven, West Makaha, High Ridge Mountain, crystal clear blue water. All my friends there, hanging down the beach, young and old among them, feel the ocean breeze. Country road, take me home to the place I belong. Makaha, Mount Kala, oh take me home, oh country road.
Okay, so this is obviously the funniest episode of the show ever written. The humor in this episode is like early SpongeBob quality. Not only is it hilarious and well-timed, but it's well-constructed, something that pretty much all the other writers in this show tend to falter with. This fucking eagle gag alone caught me so off guard, both because of its absurdity and the fact that traditionally, this show tends to beat around the bush when it comes to the cruelty of nature. There are times when the main cast are in danger, and it always points out that yeah, stuff in the forest can kill you and eat you. It even showed Fluttershy feeding fish to some critters back in season 1. But right here, that fish was alive, and now it's dead.
That's the joke.
A lot of the funniest jokes in this show, at least to me, are the ones about hardcore violence and death, because you're never expecting them. The show is so bright and colorful it lulls you into that peaceful Disney World mindset. So this eagle gag is so surprising that not only is it hilarious, but you're so busy laughing your ass off at the absurdity of it, you might not even make the connection that it's setting up to happen again, so when it does, it catches you off guard a second time. Nastasha Romanenko breaks the rule of threes by not having it happen one more time, but in this case, that makes it even better, because at this point, if it happened again, you'd be expecting it. So just this once, 2 was the magic number, and she was right to stop there. Then you have the squirrel trapped to this tree. Again, it's another dark joke about nature's brutality that you don't expect to see from this show, but what makes this even funnier is that nobody even mentions it. Nobody attempts to help the squirrel or even notices it struggling there. So this squirrel is just gonna die there, and it's just a background gag.
That's the joke.
Then, after they build up this cave as the scariest cave in Equestria, they choose not to show what's in it, opting instead to go for laughs with a long panning shot of the exterior, giving you only the sounds of whatever unimaginable horrors are in there, along with everyone's horrified screams and Pinkie's non-affected laughter and picture taking. Now, not only is this funny in its own right, but just in case you were disappointed in not getting to see whatever was in there, Pinkie's picture taking serves the secondary purpose of giving you a peek at the end in her scrapbook, so it manages to work both as a joke and doesn't have to leave anything out. Pinkie's picture taking in itself is a brilliant running gag because not only is it repeatedly brought up for laughs, but it serves an important purpose in the story, and ties into the emotional crux, with Pinkie's relentless optimism actually making sense and paying off with something for once. All of the pictures she takes are at unfortunate moments, but her scrapbook is important to her, and ultimately proves to be something they can all look back on with fondness and laughter, which is an example of Pinkie's element being utilized as a positive for once instead of an eye-rolling annoyance like it usually is. All of the gags in this episode work. Some of them because they're absurd, some because they're contextual. Some come out of nowhere, while some are carefully set up. Some are obvious, some are implied, some are blink and you'll miss it, some take their time, some are for everyone, some might fly over kids' heads, and some are inside jokes and nods that only fans would get. Some are unabashedly silly, and some are surprisingly dark. A couple of them serve more than one purpose, and they are all exactly what they need to be. I know that explaining a joke is a good way to ruin it, but what I'm trying to do here is give you a better appreciation for how the jokes are written and just how much thought can go into writing effective comedy. Every other writer on this show has at some point been guilty of using the most basic, one-dimensional version of Pinkie's personality for the sake of random idiot humor because it's easier than writing actual jokes. And in an episode centered on Pinkie, it would have been so easy to fall back on that kind of lulz random mean humor for the entire episode. We've all seen it happen before. But Natalia Neidhart actually took the effort to write jokes that were both funny and clever, and for that she deserves recognition, because on her first try, she delivered an episode on par with the best in the series, not only in terms of humor, but also in terms of characterization, pacing, and genuine heart. The moral of the episode is yet another thing that is fucking perfect and works on multiple levels. We have two conflicts here. The first and most immediately apparent is Applejack's conflict with her family, feeling pressured to get along and put on a show of a perfect happy family for the sake of not disappointing Pinkie and embarrassing themselves. Something I know virtually everyone can relate to because at some point in our lives we've all found ourselves on all three sides of that conflict. We've all been in the uncomfortable position of being the outsider or a mutual friend watching other people fight. We've all been embarrassed by our families, and we've all embarrassed our families. I'm embarrassing my family right now by overanalyzing My Little Fucking Pony. The other conflict, which is less focused on until the climax, is Pinkie's inner conflict of wanting to be a part of this family. She loves her friend, and this new bond is important to her. She wants to belong, and again, I'm sure we've all felt that desire at some point. Near the end, when she briefly realizes she may never know for sure, it breaks her heart a little, and she experiences an emotion known as disappointment, which is more subtle than wailing despair or psychotic breaks. Most writers make Pinkie an always smiling, oblivious retard who's never affected by anything whatsoever, and on the rare occasion they actually do try to portray her as capable of experiencing a broader emotional spectrum, it's exaggerated all the way to the most extreme levels of the other side. But the most realistic, relatable emotions are more in the middle, and the writers seem to have a hard time getting Pinkie there. I know that Pinkie's personality tends to lend itself to cartoonish mania, but in a show so driven by its characters and the emotions they experience, even a character like Pinkie needs to be able to come down to earth and show some relatability once in a while. It sounds bad, but I always enjoy seeing Pinkie experience sadness, because the unrelenting, shrieking joy does become grating after a while and erodes away the sense that the character has any depth. So the reason that this brief moment of solemn, earnest disappointment is so important is because it shows Pinkie experiencing an emotion that the show has never attempted to give her before. We've seen her happy, we've seen her sad, we've seen her angry, we've seen her depressed, but this is the first time we've ever seen her just kind of let down and somber. It adds a new layer to the character and helps make her feel more complete and three-dimensional. Most episodes of this show center on teaching a character a lesson, but this episode actually makes Pinkie a better character, in addition to teaching her a lesson, and let's talk about those lessons. Just like we have two conflicts, we also have two morals here. Applejack learns from Pinkie Pie that her family's tension isn't so much a black mark against them as it is something that makes them stronger because they stick together through thick and thin, which is exactly what was said in the Apple family song at the beginning. They all know the words, but it took Pinkie Pie to show them what the words mean. Nice bit of theming and subtle narrative payoff there. And on the flip side of that, Pinkie Pie learned from Applejack that it's not just blood that makes a family, and that it doesn't matter if she's genetically related to them or not, because she understood what being an apple meant whilst they forgot. And the experiences shared and bonds forged are just as strong as anything familial. These are both important lessons that I think everyone can understand and agree on, but what's really impressive is how those lessons were learned. There's been numerous episodes of this show that focus on two characters being paired up and learning a lesson from the experience, but never before has it worked out in such a way that each of the characters learns a unique lesson from the other. That's another example of this episode being extremely well written and well thought out. When this show first started, the episodes were based on very simple, straightforward morals, but as the show continues and begins to pump the well dry of the most obvious setups and parables, it's going to be forced to get more creative with them. This is why we're starting to see episodes with more subtle morals, and even more than one moral. The longer this show goes on, the more the writing is going to have to evolve, with more complex morals and storytelling. And Nahasa Pima Petalon has done a great job of showing the kind of potential the show has to do just that. Every single thing about this episode has a great deal of thought put into it. Even something small like Goldie Delicious being subtly implied to indeed be related to Pinkie. The episode ends with Pinkie realizing that she may never know for sure if she's related to the apples or not, and learning instead that it doesn't matter. But there's also a lingering shot that pretty clearly is meant to imply that she is related to them. Now some of you might be wondering why this contradiction. Well, I'll tell you. Obviously, because of the whole family is more than blood moral, Pinkie's true genealogy has to be shrouded in ambiguity as far as the characters are concerned, because it's the only way for Pinkie to learn that lesson. But to the viewer, who might want a more concrete answer just for curiosity's sake and would regard anything less as a cop-out, some clue had to be given to satisfy that curiosity. And so we get this lingering shot of Goldie Delicious taking a book from the bottom exactly the way Pinkie did at the beginning. There is absolutely nothing ambiguous about this. They would not have lingered on this shot if it wasn't directly meant to imply a connection. So, we still get Pinkie learning the lesson she needs to learn without compromising the promise of the episode. It's fucking brilliant! And that's the episode. Curtains closed, take a bow, congratulations, you did it! Pinkie Apple Pie is everything this show is supposed to be. Everything that made us fans in the first place. It's an episode built on the strength of its characters, with great dynamics between them, interesting conflicts that everyone can relate to, nobody's really the bad guy, the jokes and visual gags all work and are all cleverly set up when they need to be, a catchy song brimming with positivity, important moral lessons for the kids that are layered and realistic, as well as hidden foreshadowing, depth, and gags for adults, a strong focus on things like friendship, love, positivity, and a Pinkie Pie who acts like a real person with real emotions and motivations, and who even saves the day with the same kind of unexpected wisdom that used to characterize her in the show's early days. You put it all together, and what you have is an example of this show at its absolute best. This is the kind of episode that you could show to someone who's never seen the show, and they'd be like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. I've noticed in the comments of my videos that people are often unsure of the sincerity of my opinions, or even my feelings on the show itself. Well, I think it's pretty obvious when I'm kidding and when I'm not. Come on, if I didn't enjoy the show, why would I even be doing this? I damn sure ain't doing it because I love the fandom. I fucking hate bronies. No, seriously, you guys are a bunch of freaks. So that's why, if you've ever doubted my sincerity, don't doubt it now when I say that I thoroughly enjoyed this episode and consider it nearly flawless. Any issues I have with it are extremely minor, and on the whole, I think it's one of the better episodes not only of the season, but of the series. Pinkie Pie is a fantastic, well-rounded character when she's written correctly, and has limitless potential for great stories. She's optimistic but insecure, eccentric but empathic, hyper, scatterbrained, and extremely emotional, but clever, wise beyond her years, and more perceptive than she seems. She's not just an oblivious meme factory with special needs. Natasha Levenger, yeah, by now I think she's earned the right for me to remember her actual name, has proven that even a newcomer can have a better grasp of characters that others have been writing for years. Which of course lends further weight to my opinion that I should be hired as a writer on the show immediately. Your move, Megan.
I'm grounded in horseshoes.
So, people pledge a certain amount per video, and with me making these every week, it'll all add up, and eventually it'll be like a real job. It's all coming together, sis. All this work I've been doing is finally gonna mean something.
That's so awesome. I'm so proud of you. Are you still reviewing games?
Well, I've switched gears a little bit. Mostly TV now.
Cool, what shows?
Just episodes of one show in particular.
What show?
You wouldn't have heard about it. It's just some obscure thing. It's stupid.
Tell me.
My Little Pony.
Oh. Well, I mean, follow your dreams, man.
Yeah, my dreams.
Do you want to go to the movies or something? Like, I hardly ever see you when I'm home.
I don't have any money to go to the movies.
I mean, I could, like, pay for you. What did you do to that pie?
Nothing.
Did you...
What?
You really need a girlfriend. You know, Jess, I'm, like, kind of worried about you. You should think of, like, getting out of the basement sometime and, like, interacting with some people, you know? And by the way, you're getting really fat.
That's the joke.